So we are back with episode 3 of the A-Team at New Beginnings Farmstead. We have me, Elisa. We have Julie, Ryan, and Egidio. And previously we started to talk about the black walnut tree that was in front of the house, which was what lured me to want to come and see this house when we were looking for property. And so the one thing that I did not want to get rid of with all of our construction, Egidio, was the black walnut tree.
The black walnut tree.
So
There's the reason you like this house,
that's
right?
Right. So there came many times when Egidio was wanting to remove the tree.
Why? Why did I want to remove the tree?
Because you don't like anything near the house.
Yeah, because there was very large 8-inch branches hanging over the roof of the tree.
And you could have just trimmed the tree.
Right, and then the squirrels were collecting the black walnuts and dropping them on the roof into the gutters. And when we tore off the back addition, what was filled the walls? Not insulation.
No, black walnuts.
Black walnuts. We ripped out the bottom piece.
Yeah, but that's not the only. We have 130 acres. It's not our only black walnut tree. This was
the largest.
And it was beautiful. It was. Yes, it was.
What happened to it?
I tried to keep this tree alive. I love this tree.
In fact, what happened?
It was
You
the
loved it
solar
so
company.
much that you planted what?
Not
No, I didn't
Not
plant.
planted.
Definitely
That
didn't
choice of
plant.
words. Not planted.
We had one of our rescue cats, Ginger. She actually had passed the day after our wedding, and she was our beloved cat. And when I came home with her body, we buried her. We had a whole funeral, whole ceremony with the kids, and we buried Ginger right at the bottom of the black walnut tree. And actually, she was accompanied by Max, a hamster, and John, another hamster. We had a whole little
Not at the
cemetery.
same time.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Not at the same time.
wasn't like
Massacre
a-
at New Beginnings Farmstead.
We like to refer to them as bunk bed burials.
No, but so Ginger was there.
Yeah.
And
what year was that?
when she died in 2016, the day after we got
So
married.
2016. Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So then several years later, unfortunately, the black walnut tree had to come down, right?
Why?
Because it was damaged with the wall.
Right. So part of the reason is we signed on to lease the back 20 acres of land to a solar company that produced 2 megawatt solar field in the back. We didn't mind giving up the hay field because we tried haying it, didn't work that well. So this worked
More
out.
on that story later.
Yep.
And we believe in renewable energy.
Yes.
Ish.
Yes. We'll get to that, more of that. But one of it was that they needed to widen the road. So we have rock on one side and we have a black walnut tree on the other. So when they came down here, they said, oh, we'll start at the bottom of the driveway. We'll work our way up. We got to start with that walnut tree that has the flag around it. Remember, and you said, why is the flag around my black walnut tree?
I did. I
So I told the
specifically
guy with
pointed
this
that out.
big tree felling machine, and I said, listen, you can't take that tree down.
That
This
tree
is
does
all- it's
not.
on the-
I will
it's on the
end this
drawings.
contract.
It's on the drawings.
Nope. And I said, I will end this contract.
I
That
said,
tree
you
does
can't.
not come
You
down.
got to go the other way. So he ended up going on the other side of it. But anyway, so we left it. But because of the way the road got shaped, some of the roots were damaged, and ultimately the decision was made.
She had to come down.
She
Yes.
she had to come down.
She had to
Okay.
come down.
So we
It was
took
a
the
very sad day.
tire swing down,
Yes.
and unfortunately, because of the proximity to the house, we actually hired one of our local tree guys to come down. We showed up, did a great job. All he had to do was drop it, and then we were left with this huge stump.
Enormous stuff.
Huge.
It was huge. It was so big, in fact, that you were pecking at it with that machine. We have a big Komatsu 200-3 old excavator, and you were working on that thing for...
I thought it was going to be easy, but the taproot on this tree, after we did finally get it out, was about 8 inches around for the taproot. And because it's solid rock here, it found its way. But I thought it was going to be a 25-minute, half-hour project, and it turned into probably 3 hours.
But there was simultaneously something else
Right.
going on that was more important.
It was
Which
more important.
No one told me
Yes.
when I started digging around this stump that it was some kind of ancient animal burial ground.
Yes, we had to exhume
Yeah.
Ginger.
But we couldn't. So here's the thing. So this was early on when I first started coming to the farm. I sort of knew these folks, but I was like, okay,
Now you're digging up
we're
our
hanging
cat.
out. And they say to me, we're taking down the stump. I see this dude sitting in this truck, like trying for what seemed like 17 hours, trying to remove this stump. He's a very good operator, but it was like, just pull the stump out, like just get it out. So these two are, so Elisa and I, she said, we need to find the cat. And I'm saying to myself, okay, probably deteriorated. So I'm asking all these questions as I would. What's it in? How long ago was it? How far away from the tree stump was it? Did you mark the part where it was?
And you
None
went,
of this.
it's around here.
It's around here.
It's over
It's in
here.
this area.
So if you
right
imagine
here.
this, so Ryan is in the
Excavator.
excavator, trying to, with all the things, trying to move this big stump. Elisa and I are
On our hands
basically
and
in the
knees.
danger zone of this loosened soil, looking for something. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I barely know these people. I've never met this cat in my life, but this seems fun, right? So like, let's just look for something that isn't brown,
And
right?
you are,
Let's just do something that's
you
not
are
brown.
within a foot or two of an excavator bucket, a large excavator
Yes.
bucket, operated by the guy you just met that
Yes,
day.
and I was like, I don't know this guy. He seems like he's. A couple times the whole thing was doing this, and I kept being like, is he okay? And he was. So long story short, we're out there, and then one of us spots something that's off color, that's not brown.
Yeah.
It looked like a man-made something, right? And so it was like a package, I will say.
It was when they had given her body to me, they put it in a box, and the veterinarian office, they wrapped it in a plastic, like a garbage bag, and they had packing tape
Yes.
all around it. So it was like this encapsulated bag.
It was
at
like
that
a
point.
mummy
Yeah.
thing. And so we spotted it and we
Yes.
called over Egidio, and I
Stop
remember
what we're
him
doing.
carrying it. And was it gooey?
No.
It wasn't gooey, but I think it no longer had the shape.
Right,
or
so the
structure
box
of a
wasn't
box.
there.
So it was kind of
Yeah. It was,
a pouch.
and so because this was at least 3 or 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then it's like, all right, it was intact. So there
Yes.
wasn't any sign of
Thank
animal.
God.
There was no weird.
Everything, the
And
package was intact.
So of course I'm saying we have to rebury this thing somewhere else.
Yes. Yep.
We're like, we have now exhumed. We now have to have a reburial. So we leave Ryan, who's still working on the stump, and the three of us, you call down your son,
Yep.
Turner,
Turner came down.
and
It was Turner's cat.
we find a place over on the other side by the sheep, and the four of us are standing there, and you look at me and you're like, you dug a hole in the ground with a shovel. He's still trying to get the stump removed. You dug a little hole. It's in this grassy space, and they look at me like I have to do some kind of eulogy for a cat I've never met.
I think,
And it's dead.
I
And it's
can't-
been exhumed.
I was
At
a little emotional.
This is like the third time I've ever been to this home. Probably the fifth time I've ever met these people. But I'm
And
like,
yet
this
you
is awesome.
came back.
So we stand there. Turner was a really good sport. I'm sure he was like, A, who is this person? B, why is this happening? I don't even know if I remember Ginger. So we're sitting there. We have a very solemn, I remember this like it just happened. We have a very solemn ceremony. We put Ginger in the ground, cover it up, and we're walking away, and Egidio stomps on top of Ginger.
knocking it
And
down.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that is true.
And then it was just like, okay, let's go back to the stump and see how Ryan's doing.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
And then I think we said this is the new like pet burial
Yes,
ground
that's
now.
it,
So you have
yeah.
to put something here
Yeah, we're gonna
so
have
that the
to.
next guy doesn't have to exhume another
the
one.
next one might be a sheep, and that's a very large hole.
That's when you need the
That's
excavator.
what the
Yeah,
excavator,
we're definitely going to need the excavator.
Yeah, I mean, and to close this story out, that the cat Ginger is still in the same new place, and the stump has been removed.
The
Ryan
stump
was
has been
successful.
removed. Yes, very large stump. We had to roll it up the
Yeah.
driveway with the 175 because it was too big to pick up and put in the truck.
Yeah, it's a monster.
We couldn't cut anything off of it. The stump was 12 foot high and probably 8 foot around when we finally got it loose, and had to cut the taproot off multiple times to get
Yeah.
the new wall put in.
And we actually still have the stump, well, not the stump, but a large portion of the tree.
Yeah, the butt log.
Yes, because
That's not a thing.
It is.
No.
This is
Butt log?
butt log.
What is that? What part is that?
The
That's
bottom.
butt
the trunk.
log, the bottom of it.
What What part is the bottom?
There's a stump,
the trunk.
and then the butt log.
No.
Yes.
There's the trunk transitions to the roots.
Okay.
Which part of the
As
transition
soon as
is
you
the
cut
butt
the
log?
butt log from the trunk,
Don't keep
it
using the
becomes-
word if no one knows what the word means.
It's the part
Describe it with
above the
other-
stump.
You're making
So
this up.
The stump is wherever you cut it.
how am I? He said it,
And
I'm
you're just agreeing with him.
Oh boy.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, in addition to the black walnut butt log,
And we still have it because at some point I want a table or something made out of that
You're gonna
tree.
get a
Out of the
bird
butt
house.
log
Because
part?
the butt log, yes. Which is like,
See, she's using
it's
it.
like
She's
14 feet
repeating.
long.
Right.
We
And it
kept
has the nicest
huge.
wood of the tree.
It's beautiful, and that is the reason why we even ended up here is because of that tree.
Right.
So we have to honor that tree
And
in
in
some way.
addition, next to that black walnut, only about 25 feet away, was that monstrous pine.
Yes, I hated
Oh,
that
I
pine
remember
tree.
that one too.
That was
Yeah.
right out here.
Do you remember that? You here for the pine tree?
No.
That was a huge
That was a
pine
monster.
tree.
But in the first episode, you mentioned that there was some kind of incident that happened,
Yeah, that was
and
actually
you all alluded to it. And I don't know what this story is, and I feel like I'm not the only one waiting for the answer.
so this was the first hiccup in everything that we had done. So when I started in May, early May of 2017, to trade for the venue for my wedding, we had done a ton of projects that were all we built bathrooms and renovated the barn and renovated the what is it, the bridal suite in the blue barn.
Built hay wagons.
Built hay wagons and
Moved a pile of dirt
A
right for the
lot of
parking lot.
landscaping.
for the parking lot. Yep, screened a ton
Cleaning,
of dirt,
clearing.
moved a ton of dirt, and we had all these projects going on. But one thing that I had been tasked with by my fiance at the time was a million pictures from Instagram of what fields should look like when people get married in them. So here's this beautiful hayfield in the back. It had little to no weed seed in it. It really was a beautiful hayfield. And one of my pet peeves was when people just drive randomly through the field, because when the hay is high, you can see that and it doesn't go away. So you have to maintain the same path every time in and out. And I spent a couple hours every time I came here. I would go up, I would check it. I walked in through the hayfield and staked out a perfect rectangle because I had a huge wedding. Our guest list was 255, I think, is what we had.
To this day, the largest wedding we've had.
And we had, I had this all staked out, but I didn't want to mow it right away, because if you mow it, then that's when the weeds start to take shape. So we got to, I would say, early August, and I finally took the brush hog up there and brush hogged the paths in everywhere I needed to be for access for the aisleway and the square for the actual ceremony, and raked everything out, threw it in the trailers, cleaned everything up, and let it sit. Then I went back up with the flail mower multiple times to get it so that it would come up and be lush and green. Well, in August in New York, it gets very dry. So I was concerned about the grass dying. So I would fill up the water tote on the trailer and go up and water the grass to make sure that it stayed green, and the hayfield was a very nice golden color.
He was mowing it and raking it and talking to it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Singing songs,
Yep.
making sure it was absolutely perfect.
Yep.
He
The
would go up
entrance
for
had to
hours.
be perfect going in.
And a couple of different times during the day, looking at where the sun was, so he knew exactly where to put the arbor.
Yep.
And yeah, crazy.
He would spend
Crazy.
hours. We'd go, "Where's Ryan?" And we'd drive up there, and you just see him standing there.
Yep, very meticulous, because
Okay.
when you take pictures, you don't want to be taking pictures. My wife does photography, and one of the big rules is you don't want people to squint when you're taking pictures of them, but you also don't want to take pictures into the sun with it directly at their back. And the time of the day where we were going to be, I had to be sure that everything was facing the correct direction, so there's no conflict with the lighting. And I got it all staked out, got it mowed. I took care of this like it was a golf course. It was perfect. So this is the part of the story where everything went bad, because we were a week
Yes.
before the wedding.
It was the week before.
Yes.
It was the weekend before your wedding.
Yes.
He had nurtured and loved and groomed the field for months leading into
Yes.
this.
So here I am in the afternoon. I hadn't come down that afternoon for some reason. And Elisa calls me and she's freaking out because the farmer who had come to hay the field was here early.
Well, here's the thing. We had contacted him in
The first
in
cut.
spring.
Right.
Yes.
We had said, come out for
Come
first
out now
cutting.
for your first cutting because he usually did too.
Yes.
He never came.
Right.
So we called him multiple times, never showed up. All right, whatever. You don't want your hay, don't get your hay. I mean, you have cows, we don't.
Right.
He never shows. Months go by, you're out there grooming the property, and the week before, he comes rolling in the driveway with his equipment, and thank God I was home
Yeah.
Right.
and heard this, and I ran outside and I stopped him right here in the driveway. I said, "What are you doing?"
You kind of threw
Oh
your
yeah,
body.
no, I was in front. I'm like, I
Threw your
stood
body
in front of the
this
truck.
big
I'm like, what are
90
you
horsepower
doing?
tractor, right?
And he said, I'm here to hay the field. It's going to be nice weather. I got to cut it today
Yeah.
so it dries. And I said, you're not cutting it today. And he said, oh, yes, I am. I said, oh, no, you're not. And we got into a fight, like an all out.
Scream match.
Yeah.
I was losing my mind, cursing like a sailor. There
Yeah.
was no way he was getting past me up that driveway. I have my phone out. I have him on the phone. I'm screaming into the phone, screaming at him. He's screaming at me. And I'm like, you're not going there. It's not happening. And he's like, then I'll take my ag exemption away because he's up there cutting it, and doing what he needed to do. And we would sign off on it because he was taking the hay and he's the one who's selling and using. I don't know what he's doing. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care, but you are not cutting today.
Yeah. It was, we were so close to my wedding. All he had to do was wait one more week,
Yeah.
but it had been so
They told
dry.
him, come back on Monday.
Right. And now it's the end of September and they're ready to cut because it's going to get wet
Yeah.
soon. They're not going to be able to cut it. It's
But
not
also
gonna have time to
they
dry.
ran out of hay.
Right.
That's not my problem. That's a you problem.
Right.
You should have been here months ago.
But you're not going to hay that field.
You're
when
not
I
haying
had
the
spent
field.
months grooming this. And so we compromised. He hayed the part of the field that you wouldn't see in pictures. So when I came down here, I told him I need a buffer of X amount that you're not going to see in the pictures. So he hayed the rest of the field that was downhill from everything that you wouldn't see in any of the
But you
pictures.
came home fast that day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was on the way home and I pull in the driveway. The tractor's off. It's blocking the entrance, essentially the entrance. She's sitting on the rock steps of the house before we change everything. Arms crossed, head down, teeth
And I
grit.
was like, I said to him,
And she's red in the face.
you go past, I will call the police and have you
And
removed. You
so-
are not cutting this hay.
So the farmer's son was here and he was standing next to the big tall tires of his tractors, legs crossed, arms crossed, just staring at her. And,
And
like
he
I said,
kept yelling,
kind
I'm calling my father. And I'm calling the police.
yeah. So anyway, I was able to mediate it. We talked on the phone, and it was interesting how it all worked out. But it actually worked out as well as it could, considering they did these big 5 foot or 6 foot ground bales, and it looked good out
Right.
there, scattered around. But it was definitely interesting. So yeah,
Yeah. And
Good
that was one
story.
of the last weddings that was in that field because
That's
right
right.
after that we had signed on with the solar
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that was it.
Yeah.
That upper field, which logistically didn't really work
It was
out all
too
that
far
well
away.
because of the distance to get to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the pictures were unbelievable. You would have no idea today that ceremony was in that same field because of what it looked like then versus what it looks like now.
Yeah.
No,
that's the black walnut
that
and
is, yeah.
hayfield story.
Yep.
Very
So
good.
I guess we're going to wrap it up here and we'll come back at another date with more fun facts and stories of things that went on here on the farm. So we're hoping that you like our stories. And if you want to hear more, just let us know, leave a comment, and we will definitely read every comment. So hopefully you'll subscribe.
See you soon.